Hi everybody, thanks for joining Create with D. Today I have a little deviation from my normal paper crafting in the fact that I am going to be sharing with you how to make these adorable little sock gnomes, and they're all ready to go for spring. And so we can make a small, medium, large. I'll make the medium one here today on the video, but they're so fun because you can, dress them up for spring and have them reside in a little housing container that you have. You can make it just for a standalone one. And then I think he almost might be my favorite just in the fact that he looks like a little munchkin. So here he is, and he's all kind of hidden in camouflage, and then he goes right back into the little arrangement. But today what I'm going to do is I'll show you how to make this medium version here. We won't go through all of the decoration from start to finish, but I will show you what I used at the end. And so the video will just be about making the body and the hat. Let's get started making this cute and adorable little gnome. When I saw these gnomes, they were for the winter time, and I've gone through a couple of things, variations, and I'm here to share with you what worked best for me. The videos that I had watched when I had seen these little winter gnomes were primarily made out of this styrofoam. And you can do this, and when we get to putting on the hat, I'll share with you, how you would do it if all you can find are these styrofoam cones. But these paper mache cones make it so much easier. So what we're going to use today is, I believe this is a like a 3.5 by 7.5 inch tall, and I'm going to have all of the links to materials that I have found, online. And so that way, if you want to shop online, you can, or you can just go to your regular hobby stores that you do. Okay, so we'll need the cone for the hat. We're going to need one single tube sock. These are a Dollar Tree tube sock. We just need a cheap one. This is going to be the body. We're going to need one sock that's going to be for basically his overcoat. If you can still find these fuzzy socks that are typically out at wintertime, you can use those as well. But I'm going to show you my super quick way of doing the hat, and that is by using these felt squares that you can find at hobby stores. The body of the socks are filled with rice, and this is just the standard white rice. Find the cheapest that you can. If you think you're going to go crazy about this creation, or you're going to make it with a bunch of friends, just go ahead and buy the 10-pound bag. Going to need a hot glue gun, and because you might be joining here because you're a paper crafter, you could use baker twine or you're going to need some embroidery floss that is in just white. Obviously a glue gun and glue sticks, and then these little hair bands that you can find in the hair accessory aisle. Now sometimes you may only be able to find them in assorted colors, and that's fine. If you can find them in clear, I think that's just a little better to go. You're also going to need some scissors, and ideally some fabric scissors. Okay, let's get started making them. So for his body, what we're going to do is we're going to take the sock, and again, just a cheap sock that you can find, and we're going to cut it at the heel. And if you want to, you can repurpose that, but I'm just going to throw that away. And then we're going to get our rice, and we're going to fill it. Now for this medium one, it's probably going to need pretty close to maybe 2 cups of rice. Just kind of play it by ear. I would say, start out with maybe 2.5 cups. Get it filled a little bit. And then what we want to do is we're going to pounce. Okay, we're going to, sorry, the camera's going to jiggle a little bit. It's sitting right up on the table so I get the optimal view. And you can kind of see like how much that you want to have in it. Now this is my tip, especially with using these paper mache cones. It's like you can always kind of see how it looks and how much of a head and face that you want your little gnome to have. I think that he could use just a little more. And so I'm going to grab some more rice. Normally you'd want to do this over the container. I did it earlier. That way if you happen to spill the rice, or you're doing it with little ones, there, I think that's going to be wonderful. Okay, next what we're going to do is we're going to take one of those little clear headbands, And they're kind of like those old-fashioned rubber bands that you used to have on your braces. I don't even think they do them anymore, but they kind of go everywhere. And what we're going to do is we're going to just tie off the top. And kind of shape it up however you'd like, and we can still have plenty of time to shaping. And now what I want to do is I want to cut some of this excess off. You really don't have to do that if you have the cone, but I'm going to, just in case you end up having the styrofoam. So you want to get rid of that excess, and that looks great. Now what we're going to do is create his nose, and let me bring in the sample here. So now what we want to do is we're going to create the nose. And all we do for the nose is you just kind of make a little claw, you know, with your fingers and kind of pinch. And we want to pinch him kind of close up to the top of his head. You know, so you can kind of, I'm using two hands so that you can kind of see where I'm going. And you can make whatever shape of a nose that you have. And I kind of like it when it's a little, you know, it's a bigger nose. But on one of my samples, I made a little button nose, and that's just as cute. So it's whatever size of nose that you want your gnome to have. And grab another one of those elastic bands and tie it around. So about 3 times. And he ended up being, oh, there, look how cute. So he's already got personality. And then that's, you know, basically the whole shape of his base. At this point, it's easier to put a little blush onto his nose just to give him a little flesh color. So really you could take, you know, even if you wanted to make a little beige color nose or whatever color that you'd like, you can do that now. But, you know, just maybe you got some old makeup around. Give him a little blushy nose there. He's a little too far. So he might be just a little too pink in the nose. And with our embroidery floss, or again, if you've got Whisper White Baker's twine or you're around, you can do that too. And I'm just going to split this. We don't need quite all of it. And what we're going to do is we're going to wrap the baker's twine around the top and around the nose where the rubber band is. This whole function is just to reinforce the rubber band. Would you have to do it? Probably not. You know, it'll probably be just fine, but just in case that rubber band would happen to break over time, you know, quite honestly, they're not the highest quality rubber bands in the world. So just kind of, I'm just doing some knots. I think almost the hardest part of this whole project is to find solid socks that do not have a bunch of patterns here along the, you know, the bottom of the sock, or have, you know, branded names or whatever. And actually the cheaper the sock, the better, because they don't have that heel reinforcement. And then, so like when I made the first batch that I did, I found these multi-socks. I think these were either at Myers or Walmart. So a bunch of neutral colors that were in it, like browns and grays, and I've used those all up. And then, so I went back to get some more, and then I found this fun mix and match pair of just, what do I say, little footies, and I found these at Walmart, and I thought these would be perfect because, you know, we're cutting at the heel anyways, and so I don't have to do any cuts, and these are pretty, you know, pretty solid, and I thought this would be a fun little pattern. So again, you want a cheap base of the sock, and I'm going to say like the base of the sock, the little tube sock, that's going to be his little nude body. Well, we can't have our little gnome running around the woods without any clothes on, so that's why you need a second sock. And if it was one of these larger socks, again, what you would do is just cut at the heel. But since we have just these ankle socks that I think are going to be just adorable of a pattern, we're just going to put our little gnome, we're going to dress him. So he's got to go outside with some clothes on. No naked gnomes. And one nice thing about the rice, you can kind of keep shaping it up. Now, as you can see here, there's a lot of extra, but that's okay. We're going to take our fabric scissors, Don't use your paper scissors, girls and guys, if you're my paper crafters watching this. Okay, so we just cut off that little bit of an excess. Okay, so now we definitely want to get the shape of him. And I think that's where, oh, I like that. Okay, so now what we want to do is we're going to tuck the sock underneath of his nose and wrap that up. And this is where our hot glue comes into play. We're going to put a little hot glue underneath of his nose. So with our hot glue gun, we can go ahead and finish kind of gluing the rest of the sock down. And that's okay that there's that little bit of excess there, because again, the hat's going to cover it. I'd like this to be a little smoother. I think that that would be better. That's how that normally is. So just pull the sock down a little bit before you wrap that around, but I think it'll be just fine. Okay, next what we're going to need is we're going to need some fun fur. And I found these strips at the hobby store, and they come in all sorts of fun colors. And so you can just, whatever personality that you want to have your gnome, you can have on it. And so I kind of like to just say, well, what kind of beard might look best against the sock base that I have? And I think I'm going to go with a white. Let's just do white against him. He'll just be so fun and springy that way. And let me start one from scratch here. Okay, so normally what you do is you want to make sure the fur does have a direction to it. So you just want to make sure that you start out with, a width of your fun fur that's at least as wide as his kind of cheek to cheek, and that looks pretty good. And then also then the length of his body. So I can kind of just tuck it right there, and with my fabric scissors, cut. Pretty much if you start out with a 5-inch wide by 4, you're going to be in really good shape. Okay, so there's his beard. Now what I want to do is, again, making sure I have the directionality. I'm going to turn it to the back side, and I'm going to kind of just mark with a pen marker the width of his nose, and we're just going to kind of make a little cutout. It doesn't have to be perfect. Such a forgiving project. That looks really good. And then what I like to do for his beard, and you can just go ahead and continue on with gluing it at this point, but what I like to do, and I kind of work from the back side, is I like to go ahead and round the corners of his beard. This is the bottom. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect by any means. And then I like it to be real kind of, what do I want to say, kind of rugged. So I'm going to make some snips in it. This is a total optional way of doing it if you like. Okay, so see now, it's like his little beard kind of parts. All right, so now we're going to get our hot glue again. We're going to start again underneath. Get another hot glue stick here. Glue this underneath. I just found it better to kind of work a little bit in little increments. Kind of get his nose in there. And then I'm going ahead and put hot glue up here on the top of his outerwear. And pull that all the way up. There he is. There is our fun little gnome. And you can sew, trim this up with as much or of a little of a beard as what you like. Okay, next let's concentrate on getting his little hat put together. So here are the cone options. So depending on the size of cone and the size of gnome that you want to have, if you have these paper mache ones that are hollowed out, it makes it really nice because once we have it decorated, we can kind of position it wherever we want him to kind of be. We can stand it straight up, we can angle it back a little bit, however we want it to be. If you have the styrofoam cone, what you'll need to do is take like a serrated knife and angle cut this just slightly, and then you have to dig out the center of the cone because it's got to have a little place for this knot that we have on the top to reside. And you know how it is when you cut styrofoam, it's super, super messy. And so it really takes the mess completely out of it, and really the cones aren't any more or less expensive than what the styrofoam. In fact, I think they're a little bit less. And then, so I just want to kind of show a little bit about the hats, depending on the size that you do. This was made with, this was my first one that I did for spring, and I used a big styrofoam cone. So it was one that was a little bit bigger than this one here, kind of in between the two sides. And if you have that one, it's like these fuzzy socks work wonderful. You just kind of, you know, if you can find one yet that's out and about, you know, maybe at the time of the video it's Valentine's Day, you might find some fuzzy Valentine ones, but then you just kind of put those over and it's done. You can do that, and you can also put just the plain socks if you can find them without the heel, which is what I did here because at the time I couldn't find any fuzzy ones. And plus he's spring, I didn't want this heavy looking sock on him. But on the bigger cones, you'll definitely probably need to use a sock method, or you can get the felt by the yard and just get a little bigger ones. But these are readily available in the craft area at Walmart. So with our hot glue gun, what we want to do is go ahead from tip to bottom on one side, apply some hot glue, and then starting up in one of the corners of our felt, just put it down and start to roll. And you know, you can even just kind of hot glue this. I always like to put a little something right on the top of his little gnome hat, and so, ooh, just be careful. Hit some of the glue while it was hot, so it'll be hidden anyways. Okay, so then on the bottom, we're simply going to tuck in some of this excess, but we can go ahead and cut some of it off. So like here's the edge of it. So maybe anywhere from a 1/2 inch to 1 inch. We're just going to cut, not measure, just make sure we don't get too close to the edge. And then we have some felt for some other projects if we'd like. See, so not worrying about how pretty that looks because we're just going to tuck it right underneath of our little cone. Okay, so after that then, like that's what we're gonna do. And so I'm just gonna tack it down with some hot glue again. Another thing that's advantageous about using this and actually using the felt is that if you have to hollow this out and wrap this, when you go to apply this onto our gnome, as we'll see here in a little bit, you know how when you put hot glue on it, the foam kind of melts, and especially if you end up getting the green styrofoam one, that one super melts. And so it just makes it a little easier to, with the felt, that we're doing kind of a fabric to fabric application. Okay, so now it's time to make our little gnome, and here's the seam, so that's going to be in the back, but we can kind of just see, I'll bring this up here, like, do we want it to be kind of at an angle? You know, you can kind of make it so it's more upright, and you know, I kind of like it where it's tilted back just a little bit. So I think that looks good. And so all we want is his little nose to stick out. So here we can go ahead and apply hot glue to the felt. And kind of like try to get it a little bit on the inside of it. And then put it down. He's done. And he's done. Look how cute he is already. Now here's where you can come in and kind of play around with the beard a little bit. It might be just a little big. So let me give him a little haircut. So I'm going to give him the haircut. And you can shape it however you like. You know, if you want to make it a little round, you can. Get that over here. And then, like, you can even put some mousse on it, give him a little, you know, mustache, and he's all ready to go. Okay, so that's all there is to make this adorable little gnome. And, you know, so that's going to be the back side. And this is why, like, you try to get a solid sock too. But I'm okay with that being like, it kind of just almost looks like his little booty there. So cute. Okay, I am going to super fast forward this. And I'll just show you how you can take some spring sprigs and design something here real quickly. And so, again, I'll just kind of super fast forward this just so that you can see it and watch it be fast, you know, hot glued. So now he's ready to go into his little home. I'll clean him up. I'll show you how he looks at the end, and I'll have other screenshots at the end of some of these other ones that I did. But that's, you know, just a real quick way of how you can add some of your spring sprigs to him and have your own little version of a spring gnome. Well, I hope you enjoy making your gnome and that you enjoyed this little bit of a Create with Dee video. If you need any of the supplies, I do have links below of where I found mine. You can find them at any hobby store though. And, you know, have fun making them with your friends and family. Have a great day, everybody. Happy crafting. Bye-bye.